Hey everyone, and welcome to Ask Nicole, or welcome to this weekly video series that I do at 9:15 Eastern Standard Time every Tuesday. It's a long reason, but that just works particularly well for me. My name's Nicole. I'm your host, and we tackle a variety of topics. I'm broadcasting this in addition to my marketing channels. I'm also broadcasting to the co-working spaces that I own / manage as well, because I think this is just today's topic is just generally useful advice if you run a small company. So something that we do is we have company retreats every year. And basically I went through and I was pulling together. And by the way, so the first year that we did our company retreat, and I'll just throw us on the screen. So this was us in 2014. Oh, look at me. I still have brown hair. And the first time we ever did this, I rented a ballroom at the Blue Nose Inn in Bar Harbor. And I would kill for a picture of that room. I think I took one and I can't find it. Basically, they took like one of their like rooms that, I don't know, people would, I don't know, have their wedding reception in or something. And they put a little table and chairs and like little glasses of water. But it looked completely silly because, normally it's a room for a lot of people and there was just 4 of us. But I thought it was really important to do it off site the first time. I'll get into the reason for that later on. Basically, we try to do these every year. I wasn't able to find pictures for every year, but we usually take some kind of group photo. I think I got a selfie stick that year, so I was excited about it. And I can't find, this is 2018. I can't find the 2019 one to save my life. I also can't find the notes from it, which I don't know what was wrong with me that particular year. Anyway, so basically we have a company retreat every year. We didn't have one last year because last year was a dumpster fire for everybody, but we're getting back into it. And this coming weekend, we're having our company retreat, obviously remotely, because, end times. But I want to go over why we do this, kind of a little bit of how we set it up, and then show you the sample agenda. By the way, the sample agenda is on our website, but we'll also link it in the show notes here so that you can easily access it if you want to just copy it for yourself. So like I said, I've run this, 2014 every year minus 2020. So, 8-ish times this has happened. And there's a few reasons why we do these company retreats, even though we're a very small staff, as you see with our pictures. First of all, it means better staff interaction. So because everybody is essentially dealing with me, and sometimes people are remote, sometimes there just isn't a chance to talk to other people on the team besides me. But if you know what the different people are doing, if you know what different projects they're working on, and if you've just met them, it's a lot easier to send them a Slack message or send them an email and not feel like it's a weird thing. I don't want people to feel like they have to go through me to talk to each other. So having a company retreat allows, subcontractors, employees who are physically in our co-working spaces, employees who are more remote, to get together and get to know each other so that they can have better interactions. Because they feel like they can talk to each other, I'm not in the way, things can usually get done a little bit more efficiently. And sometimes they find ways of working well together that I wouldn't have thought of. So getting everyone together is important for that, especially with a remote team. The second reason why we do it is to get everyone on the same page in terms of the big picture. So it's easy if you work for any company to just kind of know the stuff that you're working on, but maybe you want to, if by seeing what other people are working on and seeing kind of the overall, where the company's going, where we've been, that can kind of get people in terms of, get them excited with ideas, and also have a little bit more excitement about, being part of the company. So like I said, the idea to talk about big picture is a great way to, like I said, engage people and feel like they have a voice, because they really do. Because the third reason, and probably, the second biggest reason after the better staff interactions, the reason we really do this is actually finding and solving problems. So because different people approach problems differently because they're working in different parts of the business, and because honestly, most of my staff, they're a little bit stepped away versus, I'm full time all the time. They're part time or just working on certain parts of things. So sometimes they have some really good insights, and I'll share some of the insights that have come out of our retreats a little bit later. But yeah, so those are the reasons we do it. It feels like, especially for a small company, and I know why a lot of small companies wouldn't do it. It feels like it would be like an expensive thing to do because you're paying everyone to be there. You're getting some stuff, which I'll get into in a second, that costs money. And so sometimes it's just easier to think, oh, we'll just catch up over Slack or something. But I really think it's worthwhile to have a set time to do something like this. So let's talk a little bit about the how. So the first thing, is trying to get people in a different location. Obviously, during a pandemic, we can't really do that, but getting people out of the office that they're in every day, or like I said, so times when, for example, the year, I think 2018, when it was me, John, and Cassie. So Cassie and I were together in the same office and John was remote. So it kind of, it would be nice to kind of, go somewhere else and do a staff retreat if you can. Now, financially, like 2018 was kind of a rough year. So we actually did it at Anchor Space, but we did it in the conference room. It wasn't Cassie and I sitting at our desks and John feeling like he was like crashing our party. At least I hope it didn't feel that way. So, if you can, a different location can get people thinking differently. So even if, you can, where have we gone? We've done the ballroom at the Blue Nose Inn. We did the Alcyon Center, which is a retreat center in Bar Harbor. So a super calm place to do stuff. It doesn't have to be this corporate setting. Just, I worked for a company, when I worked for the Island Institute, I think we did one at a bed and breakfast in their like main room. So just like I said, getting everyone away from their desk, away from their ringing phones, and like somewhere else, I think could be really helpful, again, during non-pandemic times. Another thing we usually do is food. So ahead of time, I try to get everyone's like favorite like snacks and drinks. And so I just get those ahead of time and put them in the room. But we always like order out some kind of nice lunch in addition to that. So yeah, I think it's really important to like kind of, it's a special time. So like, having some food I think is nice. And the real thing that we do is every year we basically work off of the same sample agenda. So, and I'll share that in a second here, but this agenda, it's something I developed with my business counselor from CEI, which is Coastal Enterprises Incorporated. They're in Maine. And if you are actually a woman business owner, they have free business counseling through CEImaine.org. So you should check that out. When I applied for the free counseling, they made me I had to fill out this form and it was pretty in depth. So I think they want to work with, companies that are pretty serious. But one of the things that I worked with my counselor on was developing this agenda. And I thought she had some really good insights as to why certain things were in this agenda. So yeah. So like I said, it's not at all proprietary for me. So I'm just going to share it with you right now on my screen here. So this is our sample agenda. Again, I will link it off of our main page or off the description of this video, but also wherever you're watching this. So this is the sample, the sample outcome. And I took, obviously, I made things a little bit generic here. Now, what we normally do in non-end times is we would be taking notes like on big chart paper. I'm a fan of that sticky chart paper, but, and then what I would do is I would translate it into a Google document. So every year we have the notes that we can refer to and we can kind of see how far we've come. So the outcomes, right, are what you'd expect with the reason we get people together. And then, we build in some kind of catch up period. Now with this coming retreat, since we didn't do one last year, and since there's a few new people, I made this, so instead of like a catch up that everyone is like introducing themselves and then doing a 5-minute skills demonstration. So for example, like I could introduce myself and I could show you how I find really good books on Goodreads, or I could show you how I make a really good cup of coffee in my French press, or I could talk about, I think one of our people coming, he's going to talk about how he mines for cryptocurrency. Just basically I said like, just like a little how-to as a way to get to know, sort of showing something you know how to do, that would be kind of interesting to other people. So people have been a little bit nervous about that. But I think, like I said, if it's just a team where, you all kind of know each other already, you can just kind of treat this as a bit of a catch up. So like what's new in your life, a sample project you're proud of. And I made this 2016 because apparently like was the last time I edited this agenda, but like we can just make this year. But and then we insert a random question that can help people sort of bond, right? Favorite movie, that kind of thing. And so with the catch up time, we give time for everybody. Now, if this feels, it's funny too. When I was going through this, I thought, okay, 10 minutes per person, that's going to take potentially an hour. But at the same time, like this interpersonal connection stuff is really valuable. So now, obviously, you could skip item 2 if you've never done a retreat before. But usually one of the outcomes, which you'll see later, is we come up with like 3 kind of problems or things that we want to address in the retreat. And so this is like a report out of that. Now, what's really cool about doing this in a retreat format is people can sort of volunteer to help with these different initiatives. So it's not like just me doing them, but it's like, and I'll get into examples of those in a second. But yeah, so if we had a retreat and we made 3 initiatives from the last retreat, reporting out from them is a good kind of second agenda item. And then these 3 are kind of the mainstays. And depending on kind of when they fall, obviously how fast you go through things, we're going to fit a lunch somewhere in here later on. But, the first thing is what's going well. Now, it's good to start off with this because if you're asking people for feedback and you're saying like, oh, what could be improved? You can't start with that, right? Because people aren't really warmed up yet. So you want to start them talking about the good things because they're going to feel less self-conscious talking about those at first. Once they see that it's the kind of environment where they can express things that can be improved upon, like that will be a little bit later, right? So normally, like I said, if we were in real life, we would have chart paper and we would put it on the wall and we would say what's going well and someone would be taking notes. Now, it's important that it's not me taking the notes. Now, at first, when I started working with my business counselor, I was like, I have this thing where I like want to make everyone's life easier and I want to do everything. And sometimes that's not a good thing. Me doing it all myself. Like, for example, me painting my office myself the last 3 weeks. Yeah, it's been insane and I'm super behind on everything. It's better sometimes to just let other people do things. So taking notes is one way to get people to do that. So for 30 minutes, we talk about what's going well and we write everything down. And like, I remember one time someone said, I think it was John, he was like, I like Nicole's analogies when she explains things, so it can be little things or it can be like bigger things like, oh, I really liked, this blog post that we wrote, or, I really thought it was important that, whatever, we put it all down, even if they're little. And kind of this is really educational for me because I see what people like. And sometimes it's not the things I think they like. Sometimes people think things are valuable that you don't think are valuable. So like, this is a good thing to do. Also, like I said, it warms people up for like having ideas and seeing that their ideas are going to be like written down and considered. The second part is what can be improved. Now, people like hold off on doing this so I throw the first 2 or 3 out to just show that I am totally capable of seeing that we need improvement. And so what we do, so once everyone sees that it's okay to actually express things and that they're not going to be, given really negative feedback or treated poorly for this, people can express themselves. Now, I will say, I'm just going to pause sharing for a second here. I will say a few things have come out of these kind of sharings, and I can I can talk about. So, for example, that very first retreat in 2014, we kept our client passwords in the client's Google Doc. So we'd have a Google Doc for a client and we'd put their passwords in there. Now we had two-factor authentication turned on, which means that to get into my email, you need my cell phone or you need one of my backup codes, and good luck finding them. So yeah. So I thought, I knew it wasn't good enough, but someone was like, we really need a password management system for our clients. So that's when we got our password management system. So people like bringing up problems is good because as the business owner, you probably know what those problems are but sometimes hearing them that someone else is concerned about them will make you finally like act on them. So writing the problems is really important, large and small. And then what we do as a team is we decide on couple of priorities. So there's usually more problems. There's usually a lot of problems. Just kidding. They become different problems. I will say that. So like I said, 2014, not having a password management system. A problem we had in 2018, and this is, again, this is something I thought was interesting. So something that I think someone brought up, I have this really bad habit of using self-deprecating language. I have it in my personal life and I have it in my business life. So sometimes when I write our social media updates, and there was one in particular, and when I asked for an example, this one in particular was brought up. I'd written an Instagram post, and what happened was we held a free workshop and we asked people to sign up ahead of time. And so, of course, double the amount of people showed up, like a bunch of people who hadn't signed up showed up. So I didn't have enough chairs for everyone. So it was literally standing room only in this workshop. So I took a picture and basically was like, I didn't even have it. I basically threw myself under the bus for not having enough chairs and not adequately preparing. I thought it was funny, but what the team member pointed out was that actually it kind of undermined what I was doing, which is the fact that I was holding a workshop and a bunch of people wanted to come. And I should be proud of that. And I thought that was a really good point. And something, like I said, didn't occur to me. So what we do, so like I said, we went from not having a password management system to Nicole needs to be edited within 4 years in terms of problems to prioritize. So it's not like you're never going to have problems. You're just going to be iterating toward better and better problems. And what you're going to do as a team is decide which ones need to be addressed. Now, what naturally ends up happening is when you decide on problems to be addressed. So for example, the password management system issue that I talked about from 2014, I was telling, and so one of our team members said, you know what, I'll research password management systems, and I'll put together, a comparison of them and maybe I'll find a favorite one. And someone else said, I'm happy to, I get that entering these passwords is going to be a lot of work. This is how we can do it efficiently. And so, different people sort of volunteered to help with different parts of it. So I thought that was really neat. So just as a business owner, it might feel bad bringing up problems, but what you'll learn is that other people care about them, which is great. You cannot pay people to care for your company. And if you have someone who cares enough to bring up a problem, you want to reward that. But B, like I said, it doesn't have to be you as the business owner coming up with everything. Your team has good ideas and they're going to, probably, take on parts of this so that you don't have to. The next session is, brainstorming, how to engage with current clients, kind of MIA clients, the kinds who have kind of fallen off the radar. And again, you'll notice there's a different person is taking notes here too. Obviously, if you only have two people, you just take turns taking notes. But but yeah, so it's so and thinking, how can we be serving these people better? So maybe somebody's on the ground and they say, hey, listen, I've been, doing this kind of work with clients, and something I notice is that they seem to need X, they seem to need professional photos I've been doing their social media and they need professional photos. How can we get them, set up with professional photos so that we can use them for I'm not sure, but sometimes we think about, how can we solve problems for our clients? So I will say that the difference between 4 and 5 is 4 is what could be improved within our company. And 5 is really thinking okay, how can we serve our clients better? What are the things that we want to, what are the things we want to do that? And usually people, like I said, they have ideas. And so it's nice to get them down and maybe think about a few things we want to develop in terms of whether it's a product offering, whether, hey, oh, maybe we should host a workshop about this. Maybe we should have an event about that. And then, we build in a lunch. The lunch break's an hour. And we, like I said, we normally order food in. For this retreat, what we're going to do is I'm going to send people, I'm going to PayPal people $25 and they can just order lunch in wherever they're at. So I'm hoping we can and honestly, you have a lot of really good conversations. So basically everyone kind of had a chance to sort of introduce themselves in the 10-minute part at the beginning of the meeting, but the lunch allows people to sort of talk informally, talk about, their families, talk about their hobbies, talk about, things going on in their life, which I think is like really nice. And it's not in a format where people can talk about what they want to talk about. We're not like forcing anyone to disclose, but yeah, we want to have a nice lunch, something maybe we wouldn't normally have, and get together. Cause I think that feels nice. And, I'm not forcing, like I said, we're being paid to be there. This is during the work day. I don't want to force people to have to stay for happy hour or whatever. It's built into the structure of the day so that people can make that work, whether they, like I said, have families or other commitments. So we have lunch. We take the full 60 minutes, even though that sometimes feels long, but it's, like I said, sometimes, especially if people haven't hung out together, it's going to take them a little while to start talking. So you got to let people sit there and talk about their Cobb salad and then they'll start talking about their lives. So and then this is me. I call it the state of the company. I almost treat my staff like they're shareholders. I try to do this also at the end of the calendar year. I try to send an email and it's like, okay, this is like how we did this year. I want people to know what's going on. And I also want people to know if we're, what we're working on, what I haven't accomplished, where I'm, just kind of like an overview of the company so that they know okay, this is how Anchor Space, which is the co-working spaces, fits in with the marketing company. Here's how the marketing company fits in with here's why we, we're doing what we're doing generally. And then they have kind of a bird's eye view of things. And my, and there's usually this is not like me, going over a bunch of PowerPoint slides. This is very much like a dialogue, honestly. Cause I would just want people to know where we're at, what we're doing, what we're not doing, and all that. Now, the last part of the day, I called and this, again, this is my business counselor's idea was, professional development. We call them mini courses. So basically, and this was funny because one of my former employees, Alelia, she basically I assigned everyone a piece of software that we all happen to use. And so, for example, our password management system, that's what she had. And so she watched a few YouTube videos and stuff. She found all these tricks with our password management system. And as we were sitting there, it was funny. I forget, she showed us some way to easily paste the passwords in. And somebody looked at me and said, this is going to save me so much time. I had no idea. So, like I said, we're treating this a little differently because, like I said, everybody is kind of working on different stuff right now. So instead of a professional development course, I'm kind of, like I said, reworking it and doing a show us how to do something at the beginning. But I think we might bring this back for next round. Like I said, once people, I feel like people know each other and maybe have an idea of the different software that's, we use within our company. And then we do a little goal setting, a little personal. So each person sets up a couple of personal goals and a couple of company goals. So, and by me knowing what people want to be doing, I can be supportive in that. So if somebody, says, oh, I want to, I want to start my own blog. And I know that they're one of our team members that isn't necessarily super technical, I can make sure they get it set up with web hosting and I can give them some help with that. So, a couple of personal goals and a couple of goals within the company. So also if I know so-and-so wants to, I might find out oh, I really want to start giving workshops. I know Nicole gives workshops, but I want to start doing that. So me knowing that, like, I can find opportunities to help facilitate that. But also, like I said, it's nice to sort of have some goals, and then we share them, and then we kind of debrief, what went well, what didn't go well. And so the idea is to keep iterating towards something that works better for you. Obviously, the first time you run this is not going to be like all smooth sailing, but yeah. So that's the basic agenda. And like I said, it's I find this useful to do. Like I said, the first time I did it, between renting the room and paying everyone and everything, I was like, oh my God, I can't believe how much money I spent to get everyone together in a room for the day. I reimbursed mileage, like, for people to get there. I mean, it felt like a lot of money, especially, and I'm not saying it would be a lot of money now. I'm just saying in 2014, like I said, it felt like an investment, both in terms of everyone's time and then in terms of the company financially. But it ended up being really good. And, like I said, and besides, like I said, improving working relationships, which I think is really valuable and hard to put a price on, we also have come up with actual revenue generating things too. So an example of this is the lost 2019 meeting minutes, which neither Jane or I can find in Google Drive for some reason. But the basic idea of that one was Jane had this idea of why don't we have a weekly rate for Anchor Space? We have a daily rate and we have a monthly rate. So why don't we just take the monthly rate, divide it, a fourth of that, and call it the weekly rate? Because what happened was people were very concerned with paying a daily rate and being worried that they weren't going to get everything done in one day, or they wanted to come in for a couple of hours in the morning one day and a couple of hours in the morning on the other day. And I didn't want to sit there with a stopwatch and be like, oh, you've already been here 2 hours, I'm kicking you out. So Jane's solution of the weekly rate, we tried out, and the year we launched it, like I said, before this whole pandemic thing, it was it wasn't the biggest revenue generator. Obviously, our monthly memberships are a higher revenue source than that. But it was our most popular product offering, pretty much. People really liked the weekly rate, and it had never occurred to me to offer it. So yeah, it's really, like I said, just coming up with a product like that and finding a revenue stream that I didn't know was there, which is people who just want to work for a couple of hours, a couple of days while they're on vacation. Yeah, I'm happy to serve that population. So yeah, that's the company retreat. It's something I think that's really worthwhile, even if you're a small team. And it feels kind of silly, like I said, if you're renting a ballroom or something like that. But I think it shows your team that you really value their input, and also get some really good ideas out there. So yeah, that's all I got for today. If you have any ideas for topics related to, business development, marketing kind of stuff, that's what this show is usually about. You can email me, or you can leave a comment wherever you're watching this, and I will see it. So thanks so much for watching. And I hope if you have a company retreat that you let me know, and let me know how it goes. And if you have any additions or changes to the agenda, let me know, because I'm always looking to make it better. Take care. Have a good week. See you next week.